Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 210 for August 19th, 2015. Huntsville Hamfest DIY. Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday night, and look at this. I'm driving the bus 2 weeks in a row. How you like that? That's because our good friend Bob Heil is out doing something or another. I think he's probably recovering from hanging out with Charlie Daniels on Wednesday and then hanging out with me at the Huntsville Hamfest. We're back. We had a good time. We're going to basically tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to basically spend the whole show recapping the Huntsville Hamfest and the Young Ham of the Year Award. And of course, we'll have Newsline and a few other things, but let's go around the horn and see who we've got. We've got everybody with the exception of the first person I'm going to call on was at the Huntsville Hamfest. Gordon West was not, but that's all right. You were with us in spirit, I'm pretty sure. How you doing tonight, sir, over in Costa Mesa?
I am with you in spirit, and we understand Huntsville was a huge success. And I just got a report, Don, that the Great South Bay Amateur Radio Club that had their special event station at the Fire Island Lighthouse made 600 cues, plus they operated on SO50 satellite, AO7, gosh, imagine that. How old is that satellite? FO29, AO73. And hopefully next week we'll be able to see a little bit of that video. So Great South Bay Amateur Radio Club, good job. Now get up to Boxborough where I'll award you when I see you this coming weekend. And Don, if you don't mind, I think we'll go right into our short shots that will also recap some of the activity that was taking place. So, Don, hang on for short shots. Brian, go ahead and roll that first one. Short shots. The meteors on Wednesday were good. We made a couple of meteor scatter contacts on 6, not a lot on 10, but at least we saw one zinger at about 9:30 California time. I mean, it was a bright one. Now, this past weekend, when everybody was in Huntsville having fun, we were out on the West Coast playing the 10 gigahertz contest. And if you take a look, on top of the dish is the old FM 10 gigs. Well, now, thanks to modules, we now go single sideband and that digital mode CW. And that's Pat, 6RMJ, who just roved all over the place and was so patient to give out hundreds of miles of contacts on 10,000 megahertz. Thanks, Pat. This was my setup, resting on the dish, the 2-meter local and to the transverter, giving me 10,000 out at about a whopping 2 watts of power. Yep, speed check by radar. Motorist did slow down. That was a little bit of fun. But we had a good day, and when you see the inversion layer like this, microwavers go crazy. Now, we are plugged into lithium iron phosphate battery. That's a 24 amp hour battery that weighs 2 pounds. You can see the voltage, 13.61. And there's a solar panel that put about 1.25 amp output into the battery. So I was humming all day. So it was fun playing 10 gigs. And people say, what's that string for? On the string is a little weight, and that lets me know that my dish is absolutely where it should be for up and down azimuth. Make that up and down elevation. And, oh yeah, we have fires in Southern California. My vantage point up 1,000 feet, allowed me to look at all the devastation taking place this past weekend with the fires that are still out of control in many parts of California. But happy to say that I'm off to Boxborough beginning tomorrow for the big Boxborough ARRL New England Convention. And Bob usually makes these, and here's one. But I want you to look at that guy with a bright shirt. That's Garlic Mike, and he was an integral part of our get-together last year when we were doing the Hamfest up in Pacificon, where we'll be again this year. And I had some swell folks helping me present the Instructor Academy. Now, what's an Instructor Academy? That's where, for free, I teach for about 4 hours on how to present ham classes and keep everybody happy. And this was tough. I had to keep these New Yorkers happy. That was the Great South Bay Amateur Radio Club. John Amadeo is in there somewhere, and they're always happy. And maybe we'll see some of them in New England. But I like to have a lot of demos, and we encourage those of you with Ham Nation that are teaching classes, have a lot of stuff. Those 2 potatoes, oh, that's a battery with the right metals to make positive and negative. And as the folks begin to come into your classroom, as we get set up here out in the boonies on another one, notice my CW keyer down there at the bottom. CW is very important to teach in class, even though it may no longer be offered as part of the test. It's part of our classes, and we encourage instructors to do that. Everybody loves demos. There's Mike trying to figure out where the heck is that rare earth magnet, and when will it ever come out of the end of the tube? That teaches Lenz's law. Voltage, current, resistance. We can do that with a light bulb and some diodes. And we've got that capacitor charged up to several hundred volts that Mike's right elbow is going to contact shortly. Be sure and ask Mike about that when you reach him on the 40-meter net tonight. He's always a good sport. Kids, we need more kids in ham radio. So if you've got some safe demos, get the kids plugged into them. We're just passing 12 volts. We got our potatoes there. The kids are happy. Now, for those kids that are licensed ham, we will have the Brimmers coming on up here, and we're going to do the blazing pickle. And what the blazing pickle shows is resistant, current, voltage, and power as the watt. And there we are blowing up a couple of pickles. And for those of you in Boxborough, day after tomorrow, we're going to be doing some pickle blowing up as well. So Mr. Brimmer Jr., thank you for being our pickle demonstrator. So have a lot of stuff when you demo, and don't forget the CW key. And we have one that will demo. And with a laser, yes, we can talk all about propagation. So a nice bright laser is always good. We have canned smoke, which is really vegetable oil, and it's a great way. And the wind system, which many of you have tuned into throughout all of the United States, the wind system sponsored one of these free ham instructor academies a year ago. And if you ever want to know who's the head guy of the wind system, they call him Shorty. He's anything but short. There's Shorty on the left, K6JSI. And you know what we do, and we try to instruct logical things. Here's the government's chart on frequency allocations. They got low frequency at the top and ultra high frequency and higher at the bottom. That makes no sense. So take a pair of scissors or just one scissor, cut that chart up, and presto, now you can talk about propagation frequencies by looking and unrolling the chart. You'll be surprised that during class breaks, your fellow instructors will come up and going, whoa, that makes a lot of sense. So if you have a band chart, cut it up. Hey, congratulations to Ray. You're going to hear about this. Ray has taken on new responsibilities, still doing the amateur, but now in charge of land mobile at ICOM America. Leo, our main man at the TWIT network, is giving Ray a big hug. We'll probably see both of those coming up at Pacificon. And it's always fun to meet all of our instructors wherever we do our Ham Academy classes. And again, I'll be meeting all of you and your instructors Friday morning in Boxborough, Massachusetts. Yes, I'll wear my tie and a jacket. And Rich Moseson, the main man, the head editor of CQ Magazine, will be there as well at Boxborough. And he's always standing tall. And Dave Bell, you know, Dave has memoirs, a book that's available at his call book address, W6AQ. He's pointing out that even seasoned hams, and you can go back to me, that's good. Seasoned hams can have fun doing the CW pickle. And here is a simple CW key. I know, Joe, that this is pretty rude, but it works. And I'm not sure I can get this through TSA tomorrow at LAX. This is K4TWJ, the late Dave. And Dave, thank you so much for the idea. It's actually a clothespin and a CW key. And we're going to try and get this on the aircraft tomorrow and make some contact CW as we fly to Boston. So see you all next week. And again, back to Don, and let's hear about Huntsville. Don?
Wait, Rich Moseson is the head editor?
Yeah, he's the main man at CQ. Rich is.
Oh, I thought you said he was a barber. Okay.
No, that'd be editor.
The head editor. He's editing the hair. Okay. All right. Sorry, that was a feeble. Let's get our other two guests in here. Thank you. I'll be here all week. We have the other two attendees that were with us at Huntsville. Well, two of thousands, I think. We got George, W5JDX up in Jackson. How are you tonight? Oh my God, look at that loud shirt. Turn that thing down.
Boy, I tell you, I had to put in earplugs just to wear it, Don.
Good to see you tonight. And also, my roommate up in Huntsville, and we've got some Huntsville pictures as well. He is, speaking of CQ Magazine, he is the kit building editor. And also, he is the kit building guru at the Dayton Hamvention, better known as the Cat in the Hat. Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. Welcome, Joe. Good to have you back on here. It's been a while.
Well, thank you, Don. It was great to see you last weekend and a wonderful, fun time at Huntsville.
We did. We had a great time. Normally, Dawn and Tyler come, but they did not this year. So Joe and I went back to our old ways of splitting a hotel room. And Joe's a great roommate, and we just had the best time. So speaking of Huntsville, why don't we roll my lovely pictures? Let's see if I can do just as good as Mr. West. All right, so we always like to make a side trip, Joe and I. So we decided we would go to the Talladega Superspeedway in, of all places, Talladega, Alabama. And when we got there, it was just a great time. We went through the Motorsports Hall of Fame. And man, even if you're not a NASCAR fan, you need to go through here because it's not all NASCAR stuff. So and the funny thing is when we got there, there we go, 40 years of NASCAR's most competitive track. When we got there, guess what? We were dressed exactly the same. And no, we did not plan this. Joe left from Nebraska. I left from Mississippi. We converged in Alabama, and I walked in. I'm going, oh, my God, are you kidding me? So anyway.
That was great.
Wasn't that great? So the Twinkies decided to take a stroll around the museum, and there we see Dale Earnhardt, the late, great Dale Earnhardt's car. And continuing on, that is a former Earnhardt car, and got all wadded up there, as you can see. They have the jaws of life there. You can see that in the lower left. Just a great time there. And, of course, Jimmy Johnston's championship-winning car with all the dirt and the rubber still on the side of it. Just a great time. Then, of course, we took the tour of the Talladega track. Now, these pictures I did not take because it was raining. So I grabbed these, but there's a start-finish line, and you can see some of the banking. That banking is 33 degrees, and it's 4 stories from the apron all the way up to the top. That's the shallower side, but pretty amazing stuff. From there, we headed over to Huntsville. That is the Von Braun Center. That is a great place to have a Hamfest, and of course, the hotel is attached to it via a sky bridge. It just makes it so much fun, and that is when the doors opened up. You see the throng rolling in, and just having a good time. And there he was, Gerard checking the door. You see, he's got that "I'm a fan of Ham Nation" tag right there. So of course, I had to get a picture of his smiling face, and we took a selfie. You know, just because that's what you do. We're having a lot of time. And look who else was there. Ray Novak. He's got one of those Ham Nation badges as well. I'm not sure where he got it, but anyway, nonetheless. Then the Gigaparts booth, they did a cool thing. Hamfest TV. I don't think they've ever done this before. Then they asked me to host the first couple of hours. And so I walk up there and I think, okay, well, they're just going to give me a microphone. I'm going to stand out in front. No, it was just a little bit different. Here you can see the Steadicam guy and the boom camera, and they had a fixed camera as well. So it was a 3-camera shot. And there's a look at the audio board and some of the video switching, and a look over here at the actual control center. I mean, this was a full-fledged broadcast studio in Gigaparts, and you can see the set back there in the back. It was just an amazing time. And look, they had some yahoo named Don. That's that annoying guy from Ham Nation. I hate that guy. God, he's annoying. First 2 hours, I was lucky enough to be able to host that. And then Destin, you see that WS4RKT. Destin has a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day, and you need to check him out. He's a ham. He lives in Huntsville. He's a rocket scientist, and he is... in fact, Gordon, he's kind of like a younger version of you. He is a guy that is able to take very, very technical subject matter and distill it down to where anybody can understand it. And so if you have not seen Smarter Every Day on YouTube, you need to check that out, because I guarantee, even if you're not trying, you'll learn something. Great stuff. So there we are. There's a screenshot from Hamfest TV, and you can go to hamfest.tv and watch the replays of that. It went like 7 hours. It's just a great time, and we had some guests there. You'll recognize George, and you recognize Ray, and of course you recognize Tommy. The guy in the middle there is Peter Barrett from Australia. Yes, Peter made the trip. It was really good to see him. He's doing a little world tour and stopped by to visit the Hamfest, and he met a lot of cool people, and everyone just had a great time meeting Peter. And then we had Dennis Machenbacher from Yazoo. Yazoo is one of the corporate sponsors of Amateur Radio Newsline's Young Ham of the Year Award, and we had a great time sitting there talking with Dennis. And then we brought up, she walked in, that is Anna Veal, W0ANT, our Young Ham of the Year, her dad, Paul, and Dennis, and we're sitting there holding court and just having a great time. So walked out of there at noon, and who do we find? We find young Christopher, who we met in 2014 at Dayton. He had just passed his tech, or actually was getting ready to, he missed it by one question. Well, he's a general now, and he is an A1 super duper HF operator. We had a great time hanging out with young Chris, just the best time ever. And there we are. There's Chris's little brother. We're hanging out there on Sunday. She'll love that hat. More on that hat a little bit later on, like right there. Now, let me explain that. Let me explain this picture. There's a musical portion of the Hamfest every year, and I was part of it this year. Of course, you see Blind Mississippi Ham Bone, and of course, Blind Mississippi has to have a protege. We're calling him, since he lives in Cincinnati, that is Chris Cincinnati Short Rib. So there you go, Blind Mississippi Ham Bone and Cincinnati Short Rib, and we are large and or in charge. Well, one of us is. So continuing on. There we are on stage with Anna as we present her the Young Ham of the Year Award. And the next one, there is, of course, Emmett from Radio Waves, our friends from CQ and Yazoo, and Anna and me. And there is the plaque. Zoom in on that a little bit, Brian, because I want to show you that is the very first ever Bill Pasternak WA6 ITF Memorial Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year. And we could feel Bill's presence there in spirit. Of course, he wasn't there in person because of he's passed on, but it's good to carry on in his footsteps. So had a great time. There's Anno hanging out over at Heil. Yeah, Bob Heil was there as well. She's got the Pro Set 7 on there. And here we are. There's Bob and me and Chris and Anna. It's just a great time. If you have not been to the Huntsville Hamfest, you definitely need to go. Great pick of Anna. Now, I don't know what is going on here. That's Katie Allen from Ham Radio Deluxe. And I don't know what she's got in her mouth. I don't know what she's trying to get out of her mouth. I don't know. I don't question these things. But she's photobombing Anna. And what's going on right there in that pic is that Dennis is giving Anna one of the Hamvention, or the Young Ham of the Year prizes. That is the Yazoo 817. So she's very happy. Emmett from Radio Waves gave her an antenna, and she got a trip to Space Camp and some other stuff from CQ Magazine. And we could not be more proud of Anna. From there, there it is. There's the music video. There's Joe on bass. Wasn't that fun? Joe on bass. We've got Cincinnati Short Rib there on the Baofeng HT, the red Baofeng. I believe it's a Baofeng. It's a Chinese HT. Of course, he's playing that like a harmonica, as you would. There's Blind Mississippi Hambone. There's Emmett. I don't have a blues name for Emmett. And then there's the goofball from MFJ. My Lord. Richard. We just had, Richard, we just had the best time. And you can see that, I think, on the W5KUB site. I don't know why you would want to, but it's I understand it's available. It was pretty bad. So just a great day at Huntsville. Here's some of the stuff that we'll just roll through these. Here's some of the stuff you could find at the Huntsville Hamfest. Of course, it's a military town and a science town because of NASA. So some old stuff there and lots of old vintage gear at the Huntsville Hamfest. We'll just roll through these, Brian, and take a look. And it all just looks so nice. Hey, you want to make an antenna tuner? There's a nice, serious antenna. You want a CW key? This guy had like 3 or 4 tables full of CW keys. Gordon, you could use one of those. I don't think you'd have any problem getting that through TSA. But he had key upon key upon key. Oh, look. Hillary was there with her server, her email server. We found it. And of course, Tyler's upgraded cell phone you saw there, and some more vintage equipment. Just keep rolling through these, Brian. This is good stuff here. And each piece just looked better than the piece before. They're right. Stop on that. That's a wire recorder. When was the last time you saw a wire recorder? I actually thought about buying that and bringing it to work with me at iHeartMedia. I figured it might be an upgrade to what we've got. But I don't. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Not Anna, but but a wire recorder. I saw one of those. There's the new stuff. The Icon booth. Keep rolling through there. We just took some pictures of, oh, look at that. Let's just drool time. Yep. There you go. Keep going. Just the new stuff. Oh, man. The 7700. The receiver. Those are cool. Neat receivers. There's the 7600 like I have. And then we move over to Yaesu. They're a line of VHF, UHF stuff back into the HF. Good-looking radios, every one of them. Of course, Kenwood was there, too. I didn't make it over to get any pictures of Kenwood, but they were there. And, oh, that's pretty. And, of course, Flex was there as well with their stuff. Look, it even says Huntsville. And they had the new Maestro. That is the new wireless Bluetooth controller for the Flex. Now, I bought a DHAP, the DHAP Mini, and they actually had the 3D printer making the DHAPs there. You could watch them being made. Pretty slick stuff. And here we are. This is the players from the Wolf Hong ceremony. And,
that was great.
Yeah, it was. I was QRM, so, of course, I had to be just as loud as I possibly could be with the full hat. Anna was the novice, and QRN over there with the stun gun. And George, you were Crystal, weren't you? Weren't you the Crystal? I mean, not George. I mean, Joe. Joe, you were the Crystal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
But we just had a great time. And then, of course, this pops up because after leaving the Wolf Hong, I had been drinking a little bit, and there's Ted Randall from his shortwave station, and this shows up. Yeah, it was fun. Anyway, there you go. There's the Huntsville Hamfest website. I don't think I've ever seen in my 15 years or 20 years of going. I've only missed one year in the last 21. I don't think that I have ever seen a more busy or well-attended Huntsville Hamfest. Joe, you've been going for a lot of years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I've been going most years since 2000, and this was definitely the most people I think I've seen.
Yeah, pretty crowded stuff. George, what was your impression of the crowd at Huntsville? I know with Peter in tow, you were talking to a lot of people.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a banner year. A little more attendance than normal, and it's always attended real well. And you saw Peter earlier. We were sitting on the couch there talking with Don. That's Peter Barrett, VK3PB, our co-host on Amateur Logic. Made it over from Melbourne, Australia, just in time for the Huntsville Hamfest. We had never met Peter before in person. We've been doing a show together for 8 years, but this is the first time we ever got together and shook hands. So that was the highlight of the Hamfest for Tommy and myself. And a lot of other people. Peter stayed busy talking with people throughout the whole event there. And it was just great to see him. He's no longer in the U.S. He's over in Europe now. He's in London, I believe, tonight. He's making a trip around the world, but at least he came here and spent a little time with us and made it to Huntsville. He was really impressed with the Hamfest. I came back home with 3 hours worth of video that I'm still editing, and we'll let you know where that is once it's posted. But a lot of good stuff there. You know, this year it seemed like it must have been my year to buy old test equipment, because that's primarily what I came back with. I found a Fluke that I don't know what year this came out. It must have been probably the late 70s or early 80s, but I found one for $20, and I knew it was a good meter, so I couldn't pass that up. I also picked up a triplet, you know, because you need an analog and a digital meter. So I think I paid about, it's either $10 or $15 for this triplet multimeter here, in perfect condition, in a leather case. The only problem was when I opened it up to change the battery, not only does it have a 1.5 volt battery, it also took a 30 volt battery. So I probably won't be putting that in there, which means I won't get use of the 10K ohm scale, but everything works without the 30 volt one, except for that. And one other piece of test equipment, and this is a little bit heavier. I paid $20 for this, and this is an old Hewlett-Packard audio oscillator. I already own the matching distortion analyzer that I've had for a number of years, and the guy had this for $30, and it was the end of the Hamfest. And I said, I'll give you 10, and he said 20, and I said, deal. So I brought this home.
Nice.
And I came home with a couple of packs of test leads, too. And that, I don't know, that was, like I say, this must have been a test equipment year for me.
Good deal. Well, this was the one big thing I think that I brought home. It's the, I like the D-Star stuff, and I've got a DVAP, and I have a DV dongle. Actually, I'm gifting the DV dongle to Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, who is our Newsline editor and writer. She wants to get into D-Star, and I rarely use it, so I'm going to send it to her. But I picked up one of these. This is the Mini Mega, the new DHAP Mini Mega, and very slick. This is the thing that they were 3D printing, and the Raspberry Pi and the Mini Mega board are right there inside, and of course it's got these big old batteries in there, and you see the Wi-Fi dongle on the side and everything, and it's totally self-contained. And it ran for a good while on these batteries. The batteries need to be charged again, but of course you can plug it into the mains as well, and it's got a neat little voltmeter right there on the side. So, and I've had it on the air, and you know what? It works really well. So I'm happy with this. I'm looking forward to playing with this. Well, I say we take us a little break, and then we'll get into some stuff with Joe Eisenberg. We'll talk about kits. We'll talk about Huntsville, because Joe did not one but two kit building forums at Huntsville, and we'll talk kits and we'll talk Hamfest, and we'll do all that with Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB from Lincoln, Nebraska, and we will do that right after we hear from ICOM.
Are you contest ready? Expand your band experience and check out ICOM for the best in HF. Once again, ICOM raises the bar with the IC7851. Radio features include a 1.2 kilohertz optimum roofing filter, new local oscillator design with improved phase noise, and several spectrum scope enhancements. The pattern of perfection continues with ICOM's IC7700. This radio features a spectrum waterfall display on an impressive 7-inch color LCD, digital voice recording to capture incoming and outgoing calls, and direct remote control operation with ICOM's RSBA1 software. For solid HF operation this season, try ICOM's IC7600. This rig offers advanced DSP technology and 3 IF roofing filters, dual watch on the same band, and LED backlighting on an ultra-wide 5.8-inch display. make sure you visit ICOM America/amateur for more information on ICOM's complete line of amateur radio products. And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register for some great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats and a lot more. And you can also find how you might win the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio. And for August, it's the IC2300H, a simple, small but powerful VHF mobile, 65 watts of stable output, proven rugged durability, and it's tested to the latest mill standard 810G specifications. So go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this and each episode of Ham Nation and register to win. Sign up, good luck, and don't forget to follow ICOM America Inc. on Facebook and Twitter. And now let's give away some more stuff. You know, last week I asked a question, where is the Huntsville Hamfest held? And no, I didn't want you to tell me Huntsville. I wanted the name of the facility. And we had a winner. It's Bill Watt, K4BLL. He said the Huntsville Hamfest is held in the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's correct, Bill. And you're going to win this 2015 Contest University textbook, courtesy of DX Engineering. We'll be getting that right out to you. And for next week, I've got another question. And for that, we're going to give away an MFJ 1712 VHF UHF telescopic antenna with a BNC connector, perfect for handy talkies that have a BNC connector on it. If you'd like to win that, then enter this. What is the ability to store energy in a magnetic field called? It's A, admittance, B, capacitance, C, resistance, or D, inductance. And that question came from the technician pool for amateur radio exams. And one other thing, you might notice sitting over here beside me is an IC 7410 HF rig, a great unit. That's going to be given away soon. You know, we'll be celebrating 10 years of Amateur Logic in August. ICOM is donating that for us to give away, and we'll be having the antennas, coax, power supply, and all the accessories to make a complete rig coming from MFJ. And we'll let you know more where you can sign up to possibly win that one. So there you go. 3 things you can win this time around. And we'll be back next week and announce the winner of this and to tell you more about that. So, Don, where do we go from here, my friend?
Has it been 10 years? Really? You've been doing Amateur Logic for 10 years?
It'll be 10 years in August. We started about, I guess, around the same time that TWIT got started up.
Wow.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gordon, can you believe that?
Wow. 10 years. How much fun. And, you know, speaking of fun, Don, I encourage every Ham Nation viewer and listener, get to a ham fest, whether it's a small one or a large one or one that we don't even know how it's going to work. Take it in, because that helps support the exhibitors that just bust their you-know-whats to give all of their products a great display. You take in some great seminars, and more important, you really get into the swing of ham radio and see new areas that you might get a big charge out of. In fact, that's what Joe's going to talk about next, and I can't wait to see it. So for those of you that have not lately been to a ham fest, they're on the big upswing, and we sure hope to see you at one soon. Maybe I'll see you in Boxborough tomorrow, huh? Okay, back to you, Don.
You know, as much fun as the big ham fest are, I think it's more important and it's more vital that you attend the little ones, because those are your local clubs that are doing that may only have, I don't know, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 members. And of course, of the 10, 20, 30, 40 members that they have, maybe only, I don't know, a third of that are going to actually get out and do the work. So get out and support your local ham fest. The big ones are fun. The guys that have, you know, hundreds of members and corporate sponsorships and everything and all that stuff, like the Daytons of the world and the Friedrichshafens of the world and that Tokyo Ham Fair and Huntsville, for that matter, that big mega clubs and stuff, put those on. But man, get out and support your local ham fest. It's it's important. Thanks for bringing that to mind, Gordon. Now, here's a guy who has been to his share of Hamfest. That's Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. Of course, the kit building editor for CQ Magazine, and the Cat in the Hat Cat from Dayton, and who does the Kit Building Forum. And you've been licensed since when? When did you get your license? It was in the 70s, wasn't it? Earlier, yeah.
1969.
69. All right. So
1969. So I've been licensed 46 years.
Yeah. So you ain't no rookie, that's for sure. How many Hamfests would you say you have been to?
Well, I don't think I could count, really. The farthest one was Friedrichshafen last year, which was an incredible experience. I've been to 36 or 37 Daytons, at least 15 Huntsville, and lots of others. Somebody in the chat room mentioned Joplin is coming up this next weekend. Unfortunately, I won't be there, but you talk about supporting local Hamfests. There's one at the end of this month I'll be at in Papillion, Nebraska, and another one in Springfield, Nebraska, a couple weeks later. So we have several local area ones coming up, and I'm sure there'll be a few others in the region, at least within a driving distance, that I'll make before the snow flies here in Nebraska and we don't have any more Hamfests.
All right, so tell us a little bit about, for those who may not know, about what your background is, how you got started in kits. You work in the electronics business, actually. You tell the viewers and listeners exactly what it is you do and how you got interested in ham radio and what got you into kit building.
Well, the way I got into ham radio actually was through a family friend, and that was Leo Meyerson, W0GFQ. A very close friend of the family, and Leo Meyerson was the founder and head of World Radio Laboratories in Council Bluffs, Iowa, across the river from my hometown in Omaha. And, of course, they made the Globe line and Galaxy line of radios and Globe Scout kits and things like that, as well as selling other makes and models of radios and lots of kits. So at a very early age, I was exposed to it through him. And so he was my personal Elmer. And when I was 14, that's when I got my novice license, and I took my novice class in the cafeteria of World Radio Laboratories in Council Bluffs. And that's really how we did that in the Omaha area back then. The clubs didn't teach it. It was taught by World Radio. And so I've always enjoyed building, and as I got older, my kit started working more and blowing up less. So
it's important.
I've always just enjoyed it, and then finally decided that when Heathkit went out of business, there were other kit makers there, but people thought that kit building was going to become a lost art. So I decided I would take up the reins, not as a manufacturer, but as a teacher of the art of kit building. And so I began speaking starting in 97, I think it was, at the Dayton Hamvention on kit building. And it kind of grew from there. And as you know, 6 years ago in your car, I began the career with CQ Magazine. Now, in the real world,
that's a neat story, by the way. We'll get into that a little bit more. But okay, in the real world, what do you do in the
real world? My real world job is I'm an IT field tech, which means mostly I fix broken printers and networks and some Wi-Fi issues and so forth, utilizing my RF background to improve Wi-Fi systems and so forth for our customers. But sometimes we'll have a laptop that has a broken power jack, and so our laptop guys will take the board out and get the jack ordered, and I unsolder the one and put the new ones on. And we have a fixed laptop instead of having to buy a new one. Saves a lot of money. So I do get to solder a little bit at work. In fact, yesterday I had a part fail on a main board in a very large printer. And so I got to unsolder a part and solder a new one in and get them going. So if you can save a $60,000 printer with a $20 soldering iron, I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, chat room, if you have questions for Joe, Joe's going to be with us for the whole show tonight. And so get them to us. Amanda is online now, and she is waiting for your questions. So, yeah, so 6 years ago, we're at the Huntsville Hamfest. Tell the story about how Rich Moseson asked you to be a part of CQ Magazine, because this is kind of cool. Because I'm quite honored to be a little part of this story. So tell them how that happened.
We had the Young Ham of the Year from Houston, trying to remember his call, and we had yourself and myself and Richard W2VU, the editor of CQ Magazine, in your car. And he said, he of course, wanted my photos of the Young Ham of the Year ceremony like usual. But he said, I've seen your photos. You're good at that. And I've seen your presentations and wonder if you'd like to write a couple sample articles for CQ Magazine. So I did. I sent him 2 articles complete with photographs. And it wasn't but a few days after I sent them to him that he said, okay, that's November and December. Let's keep going and let's see how that works. Well, a couple months later, I think it was by the February edition, they had a problem. And that was with the little cards that come in the magazine that has the little blanks on it. You can check off what areas of the hobby you like DXing and CW and sideband and contests and so forth. There was nothing for kit building. Well, I think they said like 27 or 28% the first time that my article appeared started writing that in. And it started getting into the 30% range or so, 35%. So they had to stop and reprint the cards to make sure that there was a blank for kit building.
That's cool. So tell us a little bit about what some of the cool kit stuff that you saw at Huntsville, because there was a lot of kits. That's what kits are back. Kits are hot. It's neat that hams are getting into building their own stuff and not being just appliance operators. And that's something that in fact, you challenged me. You gave me this little guy here. It's as I'm holding this up, what is this exactly that I'm going to be butchering?
And I'm going to show you what it's going to look like when it's done. This is a $4.
Oh, no, mine won't look like that.
I'm sure it will. You'll pick it up. It is a $4 kit. It is a CW transceiver. It's a Chinese version of what we call the Pixie 2, which is a very simple 2-transistor CW transceiver. And a very interesting design. The Pixies have been around for a long time, but amazingly now you can get this kit. Just this jack alone, if I ordered that, would cost me $2 or $3. So for $4 to get a complete kit like this is pretty darn amazing. And so that's the challenge. I have given Don the challenge to actually put the kit together himself and make a contact on 40-meter CW, which means, of course, you have to learn CW and get good at it.
Yeah, well, I did learn CW. I was a low-code tech, not a no-code tech. So I did learn CW, and I can send pretty good. But receiving is something I'm definitely going to have to brush up on. But no, I will do that. The gauntlet has been thrown down, so I'm ready for that. George, do you have any questions for Joe before we get into some of the other stuff that he saw over there? Because there was a lot of kits. George, any questions, any input for Joe here? Because you're an electronics guy too.
Yeah, I would just say, Don, be careful when you put that kit together, or instead of sending Morse code, you might be sending smoke signals.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yep, I was waiting on that. I've been trying really hard, and that's the first one I've got tonight.
You're official.
Anyway, yeah, Joe, it was great to see you at Huntsville this year. Joe and I get together and talk about kits and such as that at Huntsville and at Dayton. And we've been doing that for a few years now, and I've got a good interview with Joe that will be in the next Amateur Logic. And I saw the little oscilloscope that you showed us earlier there, and I had thought about building one of those. Now, it's probably well, it'd be great for audio stuff, but, if you get into RF and some higher frequencies, it's not really going to keep up with that. But for $20, I mean, is that a worthwhile kit, Joe?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In fact, I know the people from Ted Randall's operation, his son, wrote down the information so he could order one of those because it's a great audio monitoring scope for the broadcast. and very small and compact and easy to carry with them. So it has a lot of use, especially like when you're tweaking up a receiver. You can use the scope so you can peak the IFs and so forth to get the maximum output from a steady signal put on the input. So it can be quite valuable, even though it cannot measure RF. It can certainly measure audio output and be a great assistance in kit building.
Hold that up again. Yeah. Hold that thing up again. You have it right there? That was slick looking.
The scope? Okay,
yeah.
Let me see if we can get this. I just connected the power here, and it's going to be interesting keeping the wires out of the way. But this is it.
Look at that.
Now for $20 or $21, you can get this kit as a complete kit. Now for about $3 more, you can get it with all of the 18 or 19 surface mount parts pre-loaded, so that you still have all the through-hole parts to do. But if you feel that you would have a problem with the surface mount parts, which of course I did myself on this one, but a lot of people have kind of a phobia of those things. So for $3 more, it's still a kit, but all the surface mount is pre-done.
Well, Joe, I'm looking there and I'm seeing little spikes on the square wave there. Are there actually spikes that are on your oscillator or whatever is feeding
it's on the
that?
oscillator it's on the oscillator that's in the kit. It's not a perfect generator. Don't forget it's pretty inexpensive. But if you hook it to an outside signal, it'll work great. And by the way, kind of a quick aside to Don, who had all those beautiful pictures of the display of keys. I picked up one myself. Look how tiny this one is. This is a very cute little CW key that they had at that same booth. And the guy's name is Neil, and he's from California. And I met him many years ago. And he had these itty-bitty tiny keys, and I absolutely could not pass that up. I thought that would be beautiful for use with the little kits here. Now, this one here, this is a crystal tester. This one you use to check a crystal to see if it's good. If it is, the green light comes on, and you can have a radio next to it, and you can actually hear the signal from it. So that's a cute little kit, and that's $7. And this is what the kit looks like when you get it from him. The company that makes this kit is not in China like the scope is. The scope is from China. This kit here, the crystal tester, only $7, comes from Ocala, Florida. And so you'll notice kind of buried in there, you got his business card, and it's got like a rainbow on it. And what that is it's the resistor color code. So each one of his kits comes with a little card that has the resistor color code, which those of us who are old enough kind of remember a real bad way to remember the resistor color code.
Yeah.
We won't go any more into that, but he has a great guide for that. This kit here is an audio amplifier kit. It's an LM380 based audio amp. This one I think is like $12. He had a little AM/FM pocket radio kit also for $12. A great way to teach kids about kit building and radios. This one here is a negative power supply kit. There's a DDS that I'm going to put together that requires a certain negative voltage to be applied to it as well. So I got a negative power supply here. There's just all sorts of kits and all sorts of fun stuff. I have some kits that we didn't see at Huntsville. Well, no, I did see some of these at Huntsville also, sold by other people. This particular one is a Chinese clock kit that sells for about $4 if you order it through their website. And it's a little station clock. You set it like for local time or Zulu time. $4, real inexpensive. If you want a more elaborate one, this one was like $15. And it has a Bluetooth module, and you can program this clock when it's completed. You can see the display inside the bag here. It hasn't been opened yet. And you can see it'll have 60 LEDs on the outside, so it's going to be a lot of soldering, and there's at least 20 or 30 surface mount parts in there as well as large ICs. And this will be a desk clock. But here's a kit that I think everybody ought to build if you're going to be doing kit building at all, is this one. It says it's a transistor tester. And I kind of call this a miracle kit. And I'm going to see if the camera will focus pretty good on this. I'm not doing real well at this, so bear with me. What you're looking at is you'll see a display on there, and it runs on a 9-volt battery, and you can mount this in a box. This one's not mounted in the box right now. It can also run on 12 volts, and it has 3 test leads that come out of it. And what it does is you can hook any of the leads to any of the leads on a part. So if you took a transistor like this, and you hook the 3 wires to the 3 leads, it will tell you if that is an NPN transistor, a PNP transistor, a MOSFET, a thyristor, an SCR, a triac. It will tell you exactly what that is. And it will tell you its beta gain and if it's working or not. And so it'll actually identify an unmarked transistor, which I think is incredible. Now, what's even more interesting is you can hook the leads to any of the 3 wires you want, and it will tell you which lead is the emitter, base collector, or drain gate source, or whatever. But let's say you hooked a resistor between leads 2 and 3. It will tell you it's a resistor and what the value is. If you hook a capacitor up, it will tell you that too. If you hook up an inductor like a choke or something, or a toroid, it will tell you that that is an inductor and what the value is. If you hook up a diode, it'll tell you which way it's polarized and what its value is. Any electrolytic capacitor. It's pretty amazing, and this darn kit sells for $12. It's a Chinese kit, but it sells for $12. Now, there's kind of hidden pads on here. If you look at this, I don't know if the camera will actually focus on that, but above the clip leads, you'll see some silver pads. And those are so you can take your finger or a toothpick and push down a surface mount part onto those pads on the board, and it will test that surface mount part as well and tell you what it is. So all that for $12. And if you're building stuff, that's kind of the kit to have, because it'll help you identify things.
Wow. Let's get Amanda in, because we're running short of time, and I know there are some chat room questions. Joe, this is fascinating. So Amanda, good evening to you. How are you doing, darling?
I'm doing great. And yes,
isn't this a great show? Isn't this a great show?
It's awesome. And Joe, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Amanda, and hello, west of Nebraska.
I used to live in Omaha, so anyhow. Joe, a lot of questions for you, so let's get started. First of all, WB3BJU wants to know where to get the $20 scope kit that you were showing.
Okay, the Chinese site is Banggood, BANGGOOD.com. In fact, after the show, I will hang out in the chat room for a little bit and put up some addresses for people to get the kits. I only have a couple of hands, and so I won't be able to put that in there right away, but it's banggood.com is where you get those. And if you look to the left, it'll have DIY kits. It'll say Arduino and Raspberry Pi kits and DIY, and that's where you'll find it.
Okay, very good. And the next question would be, are there any vacuum tube kits out there?
Yes, there are. In fact, I have it in a box kind of behind me, but can't reach it right now. There's a guy in Texas that makes a vacuum tube, one-tube regenerative receiver, and I will be building that shortly. And then there's a couple of people that build one-tube CW transmitters, and other kinds of receivers. So there are some tube kits out there, not very many, but there are a few. If you're more into the high-end audio stuff, I have seen a few high-end audio amplifier kits.
Okay.
And I saw another question about what kind of solder I recommend. And that's a big question. I use 6337 mix. It seems to wet the connection better, it seems to flow better, and has less of what we call a plastic state, which is when you're most likely to get a cold solder joint. and I tend to go 031 thickness or smaller. I tend to use a soldering tip and the thickness of solder that matches the sizes of the pads on the circuit board that I'm working on. So 6337, and I try to get the no clean flux, definitely rosin flux, but you can get for a couple bucks more for a pound roll, you can get it with no clean, and it makes for a really good looking board.
Very good. So because we have our smoke and solder guy on here, I can't wait to ask George, what's your opinion on the best solder?
Exactly what Joe said. I think we have talked about that before, but yeah, I use a Kester No Clean. Let's see if I can see what it is there. It is the same formulation. I think it's the same exact thing Joe was talking about there. I get a pretty thin gauge there. Because I don't know, it's just easier to work with, and I mostly do printed circuit boards. And then I'll just have to take this and roll up a bunch out if I've got something larger that I'm soldering. But same as Joe said, I've got, it must be 4 different sizes of soldering tips over there. And that makes a big difference. If you're working on something tiny, you need a tiny tip. But if you're working on something larger, I mean, you need a big tip. I can do PL259s with my little Weller WLC100 soldering station without any problems using a big fat tip on it. But yeah, I think that's one point that a lot of people miss is having a variety of sizes of soldering tips.
Very good.
And I try and match the tip with the size of the solder and the size of the connections I'm working with. If I'm doing a lot of surface mount, there's a smaller soldering iron, and I don't have it handy with me, that I picked up at a Hamfest a few months ago, and it's only an 8-watt iron, and it's got a super tiny needle tip, and that's exactly what I used to fix that printer yesterday.
We saw one of those at Huntsville. In fact, you pointed it out to me. It looks like an electric toothpick.
Yeah, it's really small and really worthwhile. And that is featured in the August issue of CQ Magazine.
In the kit column, oddly enough.
That's right. Every month you'll see it.
Now, I just have to point this out. Brian is in the background doing the show for us, of course. He just got a soldering iron. So, Brian, you were taking notes, right?
I've been taking notes this whole episode.
Okay, good deal. All right.
Yeah,
couple more questions.
Temperature-controlled soldering stations are great.
Yep.
Good. A couple more questions for you, Joe. And these are I've had some similar ones, so I'm just going to kind of conglomerate them. First, what would be the best kit for kids to start off with? And the next one was, what is there a kind of kit out there that will build your first CW, which I think Gordo had one earlier tonight. So any suggestions?
In fact, this same company, Nightfire Electronics, has a kit that will produce a code practice oscillator. You can hook it to a speaker or headphones. And it's similar in size to this board and pretty similar in component count. So it can be put together pretty easily. A code practice oscillator serves 2 purposes. One, you're going to build something yourself that works. And so that gives you a pretty good sense of accomplishment. And then the next accomplishment is learning the code with the kit.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, you guys. I hope that's very helpful for you. A couple more questions here. Any word on Heathkit? There's a lot of chatter in the chat room. Someone else is possibly opening up Heathkit in that name. Are they resurrecting? Do you know anything about it?
Well, what I know is that it shows up about every year, except for this last year, on Christmas on Facebook. And they have a Facebook page and a web page, and that's about it. They took an online survey and so forth, and then they did a Reddit Ask Me Anything. I think they call it an AMA chat, and I was in on that. But I'm not holding my breath. When the first Heath kit shows up in my mailbox and on my bench for me to put together, then I'll believe it. But other than that, there's not much really to say, because as far as I'm concerned, it really doesn't exist till we see a kit.
Exactly.
That's funny. All right. Well, thank you so much for that. And K7AGE, he had to throw a question in there. So when you're wiring toroids, do you wire them clockwise or counterclockwise when you wind them?
Well, what I tend to do is I look to see where the leads are going to end up on the toroid so that they're not crossing when you mount it on the board. So if you look to see a picture of the finished kit and see which way it's wound for that particular use, that's the way I do it. So I look to see where the holes are on the board for that particular lead. If it's a 2-lead one or a 4-lead one or so forth, and just make it match.
Okay. Sounds great. Well, I've been asking questions, so if there were any other questions that came in during that time, I didn't catch them. But Joe, really nice to have you on tonight. Thank you so much for all your demonstrations.
Always enjoy it, and I've always got more to show and more fun building kits.
Yeah, we're going to try to get Joe back on more often, and maybe, I don't know, I'm gonna lobby to the powers that be about maybe getting this to be a regular thing, because Joe, this is just such a wealth of information and knowledge that you have, and you're so gracious in sharing it with anyone who asks. So you'll find Joe's contact information in CQ Magazine in the Kit Building column. So by all means, send Joe an email if you have any questions, and he'll be more than happy to answer you. All right, let's talk about the nets tonight. Where are the nets? 3847, I think, is probably a good bet. George, any idea where the HF nets are? I know where the digital nets are. We've got 355-800 on Echolink. That's the Star Dewdrop in Star. And we've got 14 Charlie on D-Star tonight. Those are probably going right now. What about the HF nets? Any idea?
No really good idea, Don. Just typically somewhere around 72, 78 is where you find the 40 net. Somewhere around 14.268 is where you'll find the 20-meter net. Just go on those frequencies and tune up or down a little bit.
Yep.
You'll find a pile
You'll
up
find
there.
them.
Yep. Oh, one other thing before we go, Don, I just wanted to show you my other piece of test equipment I got.
I haven't seen one of those in forever.
A butt
specifically set. For dealing with you, it's a butt set.
What are you trying to say? No, on second thought, don't answer that question, because I think I know. I haven't
that was
seen one of those in forever. Wow, good stuff. All right, so Joe said he's going to hang out in the chat room tonight. So if you have questions, by all means, pose them to George. And Amanda always sends us a transcript of the chat room. So Amanda, if you're going to hang out and keep that going as long as you can, send that to us. And Joe, if you put any links in the chat room, we'll be sure and get it to Dan Van Evenhoven, who does the Ham Nation Wiki, where you'll find detailed information about what's going on each episode after the show. And that's a great resource to go through to find out something. He's like, what did they talk about? Oh, it's in the wiki. Let's go and see what that is. He posts all the links and everything. And so, Dan, thank you so much for that. So I think we've just about exhausted our time tonight. And, man, it has gone by so fast. Joe Eisenberg, K0NB, thank you so much for being on Ham Nation tonight and sharing your kit building knowledge. And thanks for being my roommate in Huntsville. That was a lot of fun.
We had a great time, and we'll do it again.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we will. We got to figure out where we're going to go for a side trip. We went to Jack Daniels a couple of years ago, and that was a lot of fun. We enjoyed that. So, Amanda, thank you for being here. Gordon, thank you for being here. George, any final parting words for the assembled throng?
Well, no, just I would say get the soldering iron out, get it hot, melt some solder this week on something. Doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's not your leg.
Well, yeah. Try to keep that to a minimum. All right. So, again, Joe, thanks for being here tonight. And thanks to all you in the chat room and all you watching live and the many, many more of you who watch us recorded and listen to us and everything. We appreciate you. We could not do this without you. And quite frankly, we wouldn't be able to do it without you. And we wouldn't want to do it without you. So get out and build something. Kit-Building tonight on Ham Nation, and then Hamfest recap. So 73 from South Mississippi and Jackson and Nebraska and California and Colorado and wherever you may be. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.